hepatitis means inflammation or soreness of liver. When we talk of hepatitis B or hepatitis C, generally it means infection with hepatitis B virus or hepatitis C virus. When one is infected with hepatitis B virus and causing soreness of liver, that is hepatitis, it is called hepatitis B. When one is infected with hepatitis C and there is soreness of liver or swelling of liver, it is called hepatitis C infection or hepatitis C. There are 5 hepatitis viruses, A, B, C, D, E. So of which B and C are the most important ones because they are known to lead to chronic infection. So, like when you say chronic infection, when the infection goes on beyond 6 months, it is called, in liver. When infection in liver goes on beyond 6 months, it is called chronic infection. Less than 6 months, it is called acute infection. Now, hepatitis A and E, they never cause any chronic infection. They are self-limited. So once the patient recovers, he recovers completely, and by and large, he may not get it again very easily. Whereas hepatitis B and C, if it continues beyond 6 months, it is known to linger on for a very long time, and it can cause liver damage for years together, such that after a few years, one can end up with what is called cirrhosis of liver, which is a kind of liver failure, or also it can lead to liver cell cancer, it can lead to liver failure as I told you, or it can even lead to hepatic coma and the other complications of chronic liver disease. Generally, hepatitis B and C, which are, as I told you, known to linger on beyond 6 months and can continue to damage liver, they are transmitted by a mode which is not enteral. It is called a parenteral route. Hepatitis A and hepatitis E are transmitted, generally they are foodborne infections, so either food or water can transmit, and one has to ingest that infected food to get hepatitis A and E, whereas hepatitis B and C are not transmitted by food or by water. They are transmitted by parenteral. Parenteral meaning other than enteral route, that is the cutaneous contact of infected blood or infected body secretion from a person who is infected. Thus, one can get it by sharing sharp objects with an individual having hepatitis B virus for a virus infection or hepatitis C virus infection. For example, sharing shaving blades or the razors or toothbrushes or the same injection needles and syringes also can transmit hepatitis B from an infected person to the other person. Cutaneous wounds of an infected person also can secrete, the secretions can have hepatitis B and C virus infection, and if it comes in contact with other individual having a wound on the skin more often, can get the same infection. So that is also called percutaneous transmission. In fact, this particular mode of transmission is much more common in African nations where children are prone to cutaneous ulcers. It is not so common in the other countries. So that is about percutaneous transmission. It can also be transmitted, by blood transfusion. If you take infected blood of an individual and it is transmitted for some reason, on the screening of the blood sample, either that virus is not found, or unfortunately for whatever reason the blood is not screened for it. Now, even the best tests in the world may not detect all the infected blood products every time. At best you can pick up only 97-98% of the positive samples. 1 or 2% of the samples, even if they are positive, they may not be detected by the best of the blood tests available as of now. And that's why even if you are very careful, before blood transfusion by screening the blood product for hepatitis B and C, there is always a minimum risk of transmitting this infection by blood and blood product. Third very important cause of transmission is the sexual transmission. When the sexual partner is infected, the risk to the other partner or the sexual partner is significantly high of getting hepatitis B or hepatitis C infection. In fact, globally, the commonest cause of transmission of hepatitis B is vertical transmission. That is, mother who is infected giving birth to a child would transmit hepatitis B more often, and also to a good extent hepatitis C virus to the newborn. So that is called vertical transmission or transmission from the mother to a child. Now, these are the commonest ways, hepatitis B and C are transmitted. So, again to summarize, who are at increased risk of getting hepatitis B and C virus? One is to know that when you are sharing the same one, as I told you, the infected mother can transmit hepatitis B and C, so we should screen all the pregnant ladies and ascertain whether they are hepatitis B or hepatitis C positive, meaning whether they are harboring the infection in hepatitis B or C, and then ideally you should take all the due precautions to prevent the infection in the newborn, or to pick up the infection at the earliest in the newborn so that you can try and eradicate the infection. So one is from the mother to the child. Second, as I told you, is the sexual partner of an infected person. You should protect the other partner from getting sexually transmitted hepatitis B and C virus infection. The third thing, as I told you, is the sharing the common objects. Again, those sharp objects like needles, syringes, needles, toothbrush, razors or shaving razors, etc. So that also should be prevented. The other people who are at an increased risk of getting hepatitis B and C, especially hepatitis B, is the household context. For some reason, it has been shown that the incidence of hepatitis B virus infection is much more in a household where there is an index case or a single case of hepatitis B virus infection. That is called clustering of infection. This need not be by injections, needles, razors. Even after taking all the precautions, the risk to the household, people who share the same household with hepatitis B infected people, the risk is much higher. So here, when we don't know the exact cause, it is called inapparent percutaneous transmission. There are various postulations, but no definite proven cause of this inapparent percutaneous transmission. Now, how does one really know that whether he's got hepatitis B or hepatitis C infection? The best way to know whether one has got hepatitis B or hepatitis C infection is screen the blood product or get the blood test done. Precisely because the vast majority of people who are infected with hepatitis B and hepatitis C are without any symptoms. That's one. A good number of them can have very mild or subtle symptoms. Say for example, they may be having generalized body ache, weakness, malaise, fatigue, joint pains. They may feel little listless or lethargic. These are very non-specific symptoms. It can happen with any infection. It can happen with any metabolic problem also. So the symptoms tend to be very subtle. They may not be there in chronically infected people, or else some of them can have very severe symptoms. Say for example, acute infection with hepatitis B. One can really have severe anorexia, meaning loss of appetite, nausea, vomiting, fever, etc. Paradoxically, if the patient has got more symptoms, chances are less that the hepatitis B or hepatitis C viral infection will linger on beyond 6 months. When the patient has got minimum symptoms or no symptoms, the chances are very high that this viral infection will linger on for a very long time, and longer the virus remains inside, there are more chances of getting cirrhosis, hepatocellular carcinoma and liver cell failure. So that's exactly the paradox, and that's why the best way to ascertain is screen your blood samples for hepatitis B and hepatitis C virus infection at least once, and preferably periodically whenever you are undergoing blood test for any other reason. So that's how I think one really picks up, or one knows whether he's got hepatitis B or hepatitis C virus infection. It's good to find out whether if one has got hepatitis B or hepatitis C infection, because you can really take the precautions. First of all, the most important thing is you prevent infection to the other people. As I told you, people at risk. Apart from all these household context, the people who dealing with the blood products, say for example the doctors, the healthcare professionals, they are also at a higher risk of getting infection, and also they are at a higher risk of transmitting the infection to their patients. Patients who are on hemodialysis, etc. also can get hepatitis B viral infection, hepatitis C viral infection, and they are also at a higher risk of getting this infection and transmitting this infection to many more people. So it is good to know and prevent the transmission of disease to the secondary cases. But apart from that, once you know that somebody is infected with hepatitis B or hepatitis C viral infection, if it is chronic, meaning there for more than 6 months, with there are certain features, ongoing hepatic inflammation or hepatic soreness, we should try treating them. Now coming to treatment or management of hepatitis B and C virus infection. A chronic hepatitis B virus infection, we have a number of drugs. They are classified broadly into interferon based or the oral medications. Oral medications are further divided into nucleosides and non-nucleosides. In fact, nucleosides and nucleotides. So these are the groups of drugs. These are the groups of drugs which are useful in hepatitis B viral infection. Some of the cases you can really cure and get rid of hepatitis B virus completely. The cure rate is little higher with interferon group of drug, but the interferon group of drugs are more expensive. They tend to be having more and more side effects, and there is inconvenience of taking regular injections for a period of at least about 1 year. Oral drugs are much easier to take, they are much cheaper, they are much more easily available, they can be monitored much better, and the side effects are very, very few. And these drugs also can suppress the multiplication of hepatitis B virus, and that's how it will suppress the ongoing liver damage to a very good extent, and up to 20-25% of the people can be cured also when they are treated with oral drugs for a period of a few years. So I think that is about the treatment. When you talk of hepatitis C virus, the treatment is evolving. We are at a phase where we see that yes, very soon we'll have only 1 or 2 pills per day which can cure hepatitis C virus. But as of now, the standard approved treatment and the treatment which is very easy available, more easily available globally and also in India, is treatment with pegylated interferon and ribavirin. And if you treat the patient, the commonest genotype in India is genotype 2 and genotype 3. And when you treat these patients, correctly with pegylated interferon and ribavirin, you can cure as many as 80-85% of the infected people with hepatitis C infection. And if it is genotype 1 and genotype 4, which does exist in India, which is not absolutely unheard of or very uncommon. So if it is infection with genotype 1 and genotype 4, you can cure anything up to 50-55% of these people with hepatitis C viral infection. So that is in a nutshell most of the things that one would really like to know about. Coming to prevention, now how does, very important thing, because the treatment, as I told you, is tedious, it carries the risk of side effects, it entails a significant cost, also morbidity, and the risk of the secondary cases, as I told you, in the household context, etc. etc. So prevention. Now how does one prevent? Hepatitis, first of all, any parentally transmitted infection, may it be hepatitis B, hepatitis C or HIV, one has to be extremely careful dealing with this patient. So prevention, primary prevention is, to take what is called universal precaution. By any chance, if you are treating any of these patients or if you are handling any of the body secretions of these people, try and wear gloves, and in fact one can certainly use what is called double gloves, and that will really prevent the basic entry point or the first risk. Second, no sharp objects you should really share with anybody else, irrespective of knowing the hepatitis B or hepatitis C of the status of the individual, because it's not only hepatitis B, it is not only hepatitis C, as I told you, it is HIV, and then there are many other slow viruses also which can be transmitted by sharing the sharp objects. So one should not use the sharp objects, share the sharp objects with anybody else, irrespective of the status of the individual, right? So that's the first thing. And the second thing, the other prevention is, there is vaccine, very effective vaccine available for hepatitis B viral infection. So what you can do is, if one can afford, ideally, as per the WHO recommendation, all the newborns, if finance is not a problem, should be immunized against hepatitis B virus. That is the first. People at a high risk of getting hepatitis B viral infection, for example, as I told you, the household context of the hepatitis B viral infection, patients who are on hemodialysis, patients who repeatedly need injections, etc., patients who are in and out of the hospital very often, patients who may need blood transfusions very often, etc. They are the ones you can really defend them against hepatitis B viral infection by giving them vaccine. I would recommend that the patients who have chronic liver disease, irrespective of the etiology, apart from hepatitis B or hepatitis C infection, if it is any other, even hepatitis C infection, you should try and prevent hepatitis B viral infection in these individuals by what is called active immunization. And for active immunization, pre-exposure, you are supposed to give 3 dosage of hepatitis B viral vaccine in deltoid, generally 1 month to 6 months apart. In fact, the first month injection or the first dose is given on day 0. The second dose is given anywhere between 4 to 6 weeks after the first dose, and the third dose is given sometime around 6 weeks after 6 months after the first dose. So that is the standard prophylaxis against the hepatitis B virus. Secondary prophylaxis, I don't think I should. Anybody who is exposed to the sharp objects of the unknown source, anybody who is exposed to the sharp objects which has already been used by hepatitis B viral infected individual, you should give what is called a post-exposure prophylaxis. Sexual partner of an infected individual, acutely infected, also should be given a post-exposure prophylaxis, and that is by what is called hepatitis B hyperimmune globulin. In fact, the newborn of an infected mother also should be given post-exposure prophylaxis, and that is by the hepatitis B immune globulin intramuscular within 12 to 24 hours of exposure to the infection, and also at the same time within 24 hours one should start with the first dose of active immunization, that is hepatitis B vaccine in deltoid, but should be at a separate site as against hepatitis B immune globulin. So that's, I think, about the prevention and the prophylaxis for hepatitis B viral, and even to an extent hepatitis C viral infection or any parenterally transmitted viral infection.